Over the years, there's been bitter political rivalry between Julius Malema as well as Jacob Zuma. Malema went from being a staunch Zuma supporter to being fired from the party, that of course being the ANC. This led to the establishment of the EFF and a seat in parliament for Malema, where he became a thorn on the side of Jacob Zuma, the former president. To speak to more about this and understand what the two will make an announcement after the meeting, Samgela Masego joins us now from Nkandla. Samgela, welcome to SA Today. Thank you indeed for joining us. A lot has been said about the Tea Party, so to speak. A lot of people saying, well, it's a storm in a teacup as well. What is the feeling down there? What's the mood down in Nkandla?
The mood in Nkandla is always of peace, it's always tranquility, it's always the wind just blowing you with its beautiful and ice-cooling breeze that we are experiencing here in Nkandla as the news agenda is being set here in this rural part of this mountainous part of KwaZulu-Natal, where the Economic Freedom Fighters leader Julius Malema arrived in a helicopter accompanied by senior counsel advocate Dali, Mpofu, which automatically tells you that the agenda of this meeting of Julius Malema and former President Jacob Zuma is about the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa and that judgment that was handed down by Justice Jafta of the Constitutional Court on the matter of former President Jacob Zuma being obliged to go to the State Capture Commission of Inquiry and answer all questions posed towards him. Former President Zuma responding on Monday that he would not be going to the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, which prompted Economic Freedom Fighters leader Julius Malema in having this tea meeting that is having now with former President Jacob Zuma. We do know that Mzwandile Masina is part of this meeting, and interestingly also ANC's National Executive Committee member Tony Yangeni is also part of this meeting, which President Cyril Ramaphosa says everybody in South Africa is entitled to have a tea meeting with anyone.
Samgela, you raise an important point here with the advocate Dali Mpofu, senior counsel. From what, again, we're trying to put the pieces together. We're not sure what will come out of that after these two men have met. The Constitution and the law, are we thinking that possibly there's some legal advice being handed through or discussed between the former president and the leader, well, the leader of the EFF and the council, senior counsel of the EFF, Dali Mpofu? Two, we do know that the former president has had a tough time when it comes to, well, legal matters. A lot of his lawyers sometimes just, well, leave him hanging, so to speak, for lack of a better word.
Well, of late, the former president has been limping from one defeat at the courts to another, which has fueled perceptions of those who are in support of him that the courts are essentially being handled elsewhere or the judges are being handled elsewhere. It essentially means that without a shadow of doubt, the presence of advocate Dali Mpofu in this meeting is that of a legal counsel that he will be providing in this meeting, as there are legal or may be legal implications that may happen should the former president indeed decide to snub the Constitutional Court judgment and also snub his appearance at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry later on this month. So essentially, advocate Dali Mpofu is here to provide a legal opinion to the former president with backed up evidence from a senior counsel, and we don't know whether advocate Dali Mpofu is here in his capacity as representing the Economic Freedom Fighters or he's here pro bono for Julius Malema in order to provide that much needed legal assistance to former President Jacob Zuma and his legal counsel through the Eric Mabuza attorneys that the former President Jacob Zuma also uses.
Now, another interesting aspect when you speak of the legal counsel of Dali Mpofu, as you rightfully said, whether it's there as the EFF or not, the EFF themselves have filed a responding affidavit at the Supreme Court in Bloemfontein in a bid to force the very same President Jacob Zuma, former President Jacob Zuma, to be held personally liable for his legal fees. I say that with a smile behind my breath, because here you are. Possibly they're helping him out with legal matters. Yes, the EFF have filed for papers trying to force the very man for, well, to pay his own way.
Tabi, so if you remember where Jacob Zuma is right now as the former president here in Nkandla at his homestead. You'd remember the economic freedom fighters used to call this homestead of former President Jacob Zuma as the monument of corruption, where taxpayers' money was used to build this luxurious home for former President Jacob Zuma. They also chanted, "Pay back the money," in the National Assembly. The EFF then called former President Jacob Zuma a constitutional delinquent, which tells you of the contentious relationship former President Zuma had when the economic freedom fighters was formed, when Julius Malema was expelled from the ANC and removed from the ANC Youth League. They've had a very contentious relationship. It's actually the first time that these two particular leaders have come out and met publicly in a formal meeting that has been announced formally by the economic freedom fighters and welcomed formally and warmly by former President Jacob Zuma, which tells you that there is a saying in politics that there are no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, there are just permanent interests. And it looks as if the interests of former President Jacob Zuma and of Julius Malema are somewhat coming to a convergence. But most importantly, this meeting of Julius Malema and former President Zuma is about the constitution of the Republic of South Africa. Should former President Jacob Zuma decide not to abide by the Constitutional Court judgment, being a person who was a lawmaker, being a person who was at the high echelons of government or at the union buildings as the first citizen of the Republic of South Africa, then if he defies the Constitutional Court, what will make Thabiso Stole tomorrow not to abide by any judgment by any court, whether it be a magistrate's court, a high court, a Supreme Court of Appeal, or the Constitutional Court, the apex court in the land, if a former citizen has basically disregarded the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa and disregarded the Concord? So you and I, Thabiso, if there is an adverse judgment against us tomorrow, we can just also decide, and easy.
Yeah. Interestingly as well, how you put it, Samuel, the fact that we did see Julius Malema, send out that invite, if I can call it that, via the socials, and the former president, well, accepting the invite once again via the social medias. A lot of people, speculation saying maybe this would be a time to smoke that proverbial peace pipe. I'm saying that very tentatively because the meeting is still ongoing. We're not sure what will come out of that. The reality is here, Samuel, is that constitutionally, both men have a lot to lose or to win, to gain rather, depending, because both men are facing quite a tough time as far as the courts are concerned.
Ongama Mtinka, a political analyst based in the Eastern Cape, said something very important in that this meeting is very important, and regardless of how you may perceive former President Zuma and Julius Malema as being not so morally upright, corrupt, having had their hands in the cookie jar, but everyone in the political space in South Africa is entitled to defend the Constitution of the Republic, no matter how you may be perceived within the public domain as whether you are morally upright or not morally upright. Defending the Constitution is the responsibility of every single South African, whether you held high office, whether you're in political office or not, or whether you are sitting here in a rural home in KwaDaga here in Nkandla. You've got that responsibility of protecting the South African Constitution, and these gentlemen who are in that particular meeting now have the right and have taken the onus on themselves to go to the former president to try and persuade him to respect the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa and to respect the judgment of the Constitutional Court, no matter how heartfelt he may feel about that judgment, but to preserve the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa and to protect this document that binds each and every one of us from not trampling on another person's rights. That must be protected, and former President Jacob Zuma must be persuaded, because he may not listen to those who are his political opponents within the African National Congress, to those who may perceive as fighting him in order to land him in prison for what is allegedly that he may have done in the era of his presidency or the run-up to his presidency, going to Polokwane and to the 2009 general elections, with particular cases is facing with that arms deal that he's currently in court with Talis in Pietermaritzburg. So essentially, you've got people who may not be in his political home, like Julius Malema, who have come to him to speak to him to try and assist him, because he may not get that assistance from your Democratic Alliance or a particular faction within the African National Congress that he's fighting with, particularly when you look at the comments of the president of the African National Congress outside the home of Moses Kotane, where the wife of the late General Secretary of the SABC has passed on, in saying that those who speak for the African National Congress don't speak for the ANC, when the Secretary General of the ANC said the constitution of the country must wait.
Yeah. Samgala Masega, SABC News senior political reporter. Thank you indeed, sir. Do keep us in the loop. We do understand that, as you said earlier, the two gentlemen might come out and address the media. Just give us a quick snippet on how that meeting they held went on. We'll be standing by whenever you're ready. Do come back to us and give us the latest with regards to that.